Have you ever had a nightmare come true? 20-year-old Cynthia Cindy Anderson did. She dreamed of being abducted and murdered, over and over. Then one ordinary summer morning, she walked into work and vanished without a trace, just as in her dreams. This is the chilling, true story of the girl who vanished twice, once in her nightmares and once in real life. Cindy Anderson was a quiet, church-going young woman from Toledo, Ohio. By all accounts, she loved her family, her boyfriend, and her job as a legal secretary. On August 4, 1981, Cindy went to work as usual at a small law office on East Manhattan Boulevard. She was alone that morning. The attorneys were out at court, leaving Cindy to handle the office until midday. It was a routine she'd done many times before. But by noon, that routine was shattered. Cindy vanished sometime during the morning from a locked office in broad daylight. Her disappearance remains one of the most haunting unsolved cases in Ohio, shocking both for its eerie foreshadowing and the baffling clues left behind. Why is this case so unbelievable? For one, Cindy seemed to foresee her fate. In the year before she went missing, she was plagued by terrifying nightmares of being kidnapped and killed by a stranger. She even told her mother about these dreams, which her family dismissed as just bad dreams, until Cindy actually disappeared. And when investigators searched her empty office, they found a chilling coincidence. Cindy's romance novel lay open on her desk to a scene where the heroine is abducted at knife point. It was the only violent page in the book, and it mirrored Cindy's worst fear. These details, along with mysterious phone calls and cryptic messages, have kept people guessing for over 4 decades. What really happened to Cindy Anderson? Was it a case of life imitating nightmare, or something even more sinister? Long before that fateful day, Cindy's life took a strange turn. Beginning in 1980, she started having vivid nightmares of being attacked or abducted. In one dream, she opened her front door to a familiar acquaintance who suddenly betrayed her trust and harmed her. These nightmares disturbed Cindy so much that she mentioned them to her family. Her sister later recalled Cindy wondering if the dreams were warnings of real dangers in her life. At the time, her family chalked it up to anxiety. Cindy was a devout Christian girl who didn't normally make waves. Little did they know, her subconscious fears might have been alarm bells. The months leading up to Cindy's disappearance were marked by other unsettling events. Around 10 months before she vanished, someone painted a graffiti message on a wall near her office that read, "I love you, Cindy," by G.W. The message stayed up for months and deeply unnerved Cindy. After it was finally covered over, the creepy declaration reappeared again a few weeks later. Was it a harmless romantic gesture, or the sign of a secret stalker? Police investigated several people with the initials G.W., even a maintenance man who had keys to her office, but found no link between the strange graffiti and Cindy's later disappearance. Still, at the time, it added to Cindy's growing sense of being watched. Then came the phone calls. In the weeks before August 4th, Cindy began receiving disturbing anonymous phone calls at work. We don't know what the caller said, only that the calls frightened Cindy so much that her employers took action. They installed an emergency buzzer at her desk so she could silently signal a neighboring shop if she was in danger. Cindy also became extra cautious, keeping the office doors locked at all times when she was alone. The fear in her eyes was evident to those around her. In fact, the day before she vanished, a client named Larry Mullins witnessed Cindy receive one of these spooky calls. He said she reacted as if it were obscene or threatening, quickly hanging up. She was scared, honestly and sincerely scared, Mullins recalled. Something scared the hell out of her, he said, describing the look on her face. Mullins was so alarmed that he phoned police that very day and asked them to check on Cindy. It seemed Cindy sensed something was very wrong. Despite these ominous signs, Cindy was also looking forward to her future. She had just 2 weeks left at the law firm. She planned to quit her job and attend Bible college with her boyfriend. By late July 1981, the normally modest Cindy had even started to blossom in confidence. Her father noticed she was paying more attention to her appearance, spending extra time on makeup and hair, even skipping breakfast to get ready. He later wondered if this change indicated something hidden in Cindy's life, or perhaps a new relationship. We don't know. What we do know is that Cindy was excited for what lay ahead, not acting like someone planning to run away from life. The stage was set. Cindy had creepy threats lurking in the background, but also bright plans for the future. All of it would come to a head on the morning of August 4th, 1981. August 4th, 1981, 8:50 a.m. Cindy arrives at the law office for work, just as she did every morning. It's already a sweltering summer day, so she unlocks the office door, steps inside, and locks it behind her for safety. The office is quiet. She's completely alone, which was normal for the morning shift. Cindy flicks on the air conditioner to cut the heat and switches on a radio for some background music. She then begins her routine, organizing files, checking the mail slot. In fact, around mid-morning, the mailman slips the Daily Mail through the door. Cindy gathers the envelopes and wedges them in the door handle for her bosses to see later. Through the large front window, she can see the parking lot where her blue Chevy Citation is parked just outside. Everything seems normal, but at some point that morning, something goes terribly wrong. Sometime before noon, Cindy vanished from the locked office. No witnesses saw or heard a thing. It's as if she simply evaporated into thin air. When 2 of the attorneys, James Rabbit and Jay Feldstein, returned from their meeting around noon, they immediately sensed something was off. The office door was still locked from the inside, and the lights were on. The men unlocked the door and stepped in, expecting to find Cindy at her desk. But she wasn't there. Silence. The air conditioner was humming and the radio was quietly playing. The office was eerily normal and undisturbed. On Cindy's desk, her work appeared to be in progress. Paperwork and files arranged for the day, as if she had been working on them just moments earlier. Then came the truly chilling sight. One of the lawyers noticed Cindy's paperback novel lying open on her desk. Oddly, the book was open to a very specific page, the only violent scene in the entire romance novel, a part where the heroine is abducted at knife point. Seeing that passage gave attorney Jim Rabbit a sickening feeling that something was wrong. It was as if the scene from Cindy's nightmares and fears had leapt off the page into reality. Cindy's phone at the desk was also off the hook, and the line had been left on hold, which was unusual. Normally, Cindy would place incoming calls on hold only if she had to step away briefly. The fact that the phone line was engaged, yet Cindy was gone, was another red flag. Jim and Jay called out for her repeatedly. No answer. Cindy was nowhere in the building. They quickly contacted the police, and the investigation began within hours. Detectives noted that Cindy's purse and car keys were missing from the office, presumably taken with her, yet her car was still in the parking lot, locked and untouched. Cindy clearly hadn't driven away. There were no signs of forced entry or struggle. All doors were locked, no furniture overturned, no broken glass. It was as if Cindy had willingly opened the door to someone she knew and trusted, and then vanished along with that person. But who? How? Based on the timeline, police believe whatever happened took place mid-morning, likely around 10 a.m. After that time, incoming phone calls to the office went unanswered. Something, or someone, had stopped Cindy from doing her normal duties by late morning. This narrow window in a public area in broad daylight makes the disappearance even more baffling. How does a young woman get abducted from a busy office complex in the middle of the day without a sound or struggle? Investigators and bystanders were mystified. Foul play was immediately suspected, but there were no immediate clues pointing to a culprit. Cindy herself was simply gone, and she would never be seen again. In the wake of Cindy's disappearance, law enforcement and her loved ones launched a frantic search. Missing person flyers went up, witnesses were interviewed, and the media started reporting on the strange vanishing of the young legal secretary. Tips began to trickle in, and some were downright bizarre. 1 month after Cindy vanished, in September 1981, the Toledo police received a mysterious phone call that seemed like it could blow the case wide open. A nervous female caller, speaking in whispers, claimed that Cindy was alive, being held captive in the basement of a white house in the area. The caller refused to give her name, saying she was afraid for her own safety. In a trembling voice, she described 2 houses side by side owned by the same family. The family was out of town, but their adult son was home, allegedly holding Cindy prisoner in his basement. Detectives urgently pressed the woman for an address. You can imagine the intensity of that moment, knowing this could be a life-saving tip. But the caller abruptly hung up before revealing the location. Moments later, the phone rang again. It was the same woman. This time, police tried a different tactic. Another investigator quietly picked up an extension to listen in, hoping to gather clues. But the frightened caller sensed someone else on the line and hung up again. After that, she never called back. Authorities were left with only the vague description of 2 white houses side by side and a basement prisoner. They raced to canvass Toledo's north end, searching street by street for any pair of adjacent white houses matching the tip. They found many pairs of houses fitting a general description, but nothing that led to Cindy. The promising lead hit a dead end. To this day, it's unknown if that tip was a cruel prank or a genuine cry for help from someone who knew Cindy's whereabouts. The thought that Cindy might have been alive, trapped somewhere, only to be lost again due to an incomplete phone call, is heartbreaking. Another way her case felt like she vanished twice. As the investigation deepened, other clues and theories emerged. Detectives learned about the obscene phone calls that had terrorized Cindy in the weeks before she disappeared. Co-workers confirmed that Cindy had been getting menacing calls at work, so disturbing that the office installed the panic buzzer for her. Was the mystery caller harassing Cindy ultimately the same person who took her? It seemed plausible. That detail, combined with the graffiti love note by GW months earlier, painted a picture of a possible stalker fixated on Cindy. Police chased down leads on the graffiti and the phone pervert, but those trails went cold. The GW admirer was eventually identified and, it turns out, had no connection to the disappearance. The creepy phone calls also stopped after Cindy vanished, leaving investigators with nothing solid to trace. Authorities also had to consider a painful possibility. Did Cindy leave on her own? Could this have been a staged disappearance or voluntary runaway situation? On the surface, it didn't make sense. Cindy left behind a substantial amount of money in her bank account that she never touched. She didn't pack a suitcase. Even her cosmetics and clothes at home were undisturbed. Her social security number was never used to get a new job or identity anywhere else. And most importantly, everyone who knew Cindy swore she would never abandon her family and faith without a word. This was a young woman about to start a new chapter of life, Bible college, not someone looking to disappear. Her loved ones firmly rejected the idea that Cindy secretly ran away. Could a person fake their own disappearance so perfectly that not a single trace has surfaced in 44 years? Highly unlikely. Indeed, all signs point to foul play rather than a planned escape. Investigators therefore treated the case as an abduction from day one. They scoured the region for similar crimes and potential suspects. 2 notorious serial killer brothers, Anthony and Nathaniel Cook, were active in Ohio in the early 1980s, responsible for multiple murders of young women. Could Cindy have been one of their victims? When questioned, the Cook brothers denied any involvement in Cindy's case, and no evidence linked them to her. Another convicted murderer in Ohio, whose name was never released, was also briefly suspected, but nothing concrete ever surfaced there either. The lack of a crime scene or body made every theory hard to prove. For years, Cindy's fate was an enigma. Her family held on to hope that maybe, just maybe, she was still alive. Cindy's father even wondered if his daughter might be out there with amnesia, not knowing who she was. It was a desperate hope, one that sadly never materialized into any sighting or return. It wasn't until more than a decade later that a new, explosive theory about Cindy Anderson's disappearance emerged. In 1995, a breakthrough in an unrelated investigation suddenly cast Cindy's case in a sinister new light. That year, a federal grand jury in Toledo indicted 9 people as part of a major drug trafficking ring in the city. Shockingly, among those indicted were Richard Neller, a local attorney who had been one of Cindy's employers, and his close associate, Jose Rodriguez Jr., a known drug dealer. This revelation sent a chill through those who remembered Cindy's case. Neller, Cindy's boss at the law firm, was involved in a dangerous criminal enterprise right under everyone's noses. Investigators began to wonder, did Cindy overhear or see something at work that she was never meant to? Police soon announced their suspicion. They believed Cindy had been killed because she overheard conversations about Neller and Rodriguez's drug operations. Perhaps Cindy picked up a phone line or read a document she shouldn't have, and it sealed her fate. The theory is that Neller and his drug ring friends might have arranged to silence the young secretary before she could expose them. This was a chilling possibility. It meant Cindy's disappearance could have been a calculated hit rather than a random crime. Supporting this theory was a dramatic piece of testimony in Rodriguez's 1995 trial. An informant took the stand and claimed that Rodriguez confessed to murdering Cindy. According to the informant, Rodriguez allegedly bragged that he killed Cindy to send a message to attorney Neller, essentially as retaliation because Neller didn't adequately defend Rodriguez in a previous legal case. If true, that's a horrifying twist. Cindy's life cut short as a pawn in some criminal grudge. However, these claims remained unproven. The informant's testimony was later deemed unreliable and could not be corroborated by evidence. No bodies were found, no physical evidence surfaced, and neither Neller nor Rodriguez was ever charged in connection with Cindy's case. Both men went to prison for their drug crimes, but not for anything related to the missing secretary. Cindy's case officially remains unsolved to this day. Even so, law enforcement continues to consider Neller and Rodriguez as prime suspects in what likely happened to her. Neller was released from prison in 2001 and has since died in 2024, while Rodriguez is still serving time for drug trafficking. The drug ring theory is widely seen as the most plausible explanation for Cindy's fate, a dark secret that may have cost an innocent woman her life. Still, not everyone is convinced. Some internet sleuths have speculated on alternative scenarios. One such theory suggests Cindy might have staged her own disappearance to escape her strict religious life or other pressures. Could Cindy have been inspired by her favorite romance novels to start a new life elsewhere, free from expectations? It's an intriguing idea, but there's no evidence to support it. And it goes against everything her family knew about her character. Others wonder if Cindy's nightmares were more than coincidence. Perhaps she had a premonition or subconscious awareness that someone close, a friend, a client, even a relative, intended to harm her. The truth is, we can only speculate. Without concrete evidence, Cindy's story has attracted many theories but yielded few answers. Over 40 years later, the disappearance of Cynthia Anderson remains an unnerving mystery. The case is unforgettable for its eerie elements, a young woman haunted by dreams of her own abduction, unsettling signs of a stalker or threat, and the stark reality of her vanishing in broad daylight from a secure office. It's the kind of story that sends shivers down the spine because it actually happened. Cindy's nightmare seemingly bled into real life, leaving us to wonder if it was fate, coincidence, or the work of very real evil. Did Cindy unknowingly predict her own doom? Or did those nightmares simply make her more vulnerable, as if some predator sensed her fear? Her case also endures because of the aching void it left for those who loved her. Cindy's family never got to know what became of the bright, kind 20-year-old who was here one minute and gone the next. Her mother went to her grave without answers in 1983, and her father passed in 2008 still hoping for a miracle. In his obituary, they even listed Cindy as having preceded him in death, a quiet acknowledgement that after so many years, the family accepted she wasn't coming home. Yet without evidence or a body, there is no closure. Cindy Anderson's name lives on in cold case files, online forums, and the nightmares of anyone who learns her story. Will we ever learn the truth of what happened to the girl who vanished twice? Perhaps someday a witness will come forward, or a deathbed confession will crack the case. Until then, we're left with tantalizing pieces and terrifying possibilities. Cindy's story is a cautionary tale about how even our most outlandish fears can sometimes come true. It forces us to consider that the scariest monsters might not lurk under our beds, but walk among us in broad daylight. If this real-life mystery gripped you, make sure to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think happened to Cynthia Cindy Anderson? Did her dreams foreshadow a tragic reality? Or is there another explanation? We'd love to hear your theories, and subscribe to our channel for more suspenseful, in-depth crime scene reconstructions. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious.